Your asylum interview does not start with you explaining your case. The officer is going to sit across from you with a red pen and go through your Form I-589 application line by line, marking it up. And this process can be intense and it matters immensely to your chances for success. I'm going to show you exactly what happens during that process of the asylum interview. I'm going to tell you why it matters more than most people realize and explain the exact strategy that my law firm uses to turn it into a strategic advantage. And we're starting right now. I'm Brian Manning, and I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now, as an asylum lawyer, I help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. Let me know in the comments if you've got an asylum case pending, or maybe you're considering applying. And listen, I'd especially like to hear from you. If you've been waiting for multiple years for an asylum interview with USCIS, let me know in the comments how long you've been waiting. Your asylum interview is divided into 3 separate phases. First, there's a paperwork section, things like introductions, signing some forms, and then reviewing your asylum application. Second comes the substantive questioning, where you actually tell your story and answer all of the officer's questions about your case. And this is the part that most people prepare for, and rightfully so, because it's really hard. But third, there's a conclusion where the officer explains what happens next and sends you on your way. And today, we're focusing on that first phase because most applicants are wholly unprepared for it, but it's actually really important. So right after doing some small talk and signing a couple of forms, the officer is required in every single case to go through your asylum application and make sure that everything is correct and up to date, every single question. And honestly, this is the part of the interview that asylum officers really dread the most. It's incredibly time consuming and it can just be exhausting and frustrating. If there are a lot of changes to make, this phase alone can take well over an hour. And I'm not exaggerating here. I absolutely hated this when I was an asylum officer. For paper applications, the officer literally uses a red pen to cross out incorrect or outdated information, and they handwrite in the correct and updated version directly on the form. Now, for applications that were filed online, the officer does this electronically on their computer, and then they hand over to you an iPad at the end so that you can review the corrected version and sign electronically. By the way, if you want to maximize your chances for asylum success, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so that you don't miss the insights that I share on this channel. Okay, now here's the mindset shift that I want you to have before your interview. Before you walk into that office, you need to sit down and go through your original I-589, every single line, and pretend that you're applying today. Not the day you originally filed, but rather today. So for example, you're gonna look back exactly 5 years from today's date and list your employment and your addresses. Ask yourself, as of today, the day that you're sitting down to do this, do I have any children that weren't listed on the original form? Have I had a new address in the last 5 years? Anything like that that could have changed. Now, this as of today rule is the foundation for a successful application review. This is what the officer is going to be asking you about. Okay, now let's talk about the difference between updates and corrections, because this is where I see a lot of unnecessary fear and even panic. Some of the changes you'll need to make are updates, things that have simply changed over time. Say that you moved into a new apartment, you got a new job, you had a baby after you filed, right? Well, those are perfectly normal and no reasonable officer is going to hold any of that against you. And then there's other types of changes that are corrections, actual mistakes that you made when you originally filed. Maybe you forgot to list a maiden name or you accidentally wrote a date in the wrong format. I can't stress enough that this is also completely normal. In pretty much every single case that I adjudicated as an asylum officer, when changes were needed, it was almost always a mix of both updates and corrections. Perfectly normal. The officer expects this. It will not hurt your case. Here's something critical that most people miss. The real danger is not indicating required corrections. Rather, the problem really is staying silent about them because you're scared. You see, fear sometimes causes people to make decisions in the interview room that end up destroying their case. And it doesn't have to be that way. So here's why this matters. At the end of the application review, the officer is going to ask you to sign your application under penalty of perjury. So if you knew about a mistake and said nothing, and then you signed that paper, well, that mistake is now locked in as a legal lie. And if the officer later catches the truth during the intense substantive questioning, well, it becomes a credibility destroying inconsistency. And that's a situation that you absolutely want to avoid. Now, here's how to handle this the right way. And this is actually the secret weapon that my law firm uses to get officers on our client's side. Before the interview, submit a document to the asylum office that lists out all of your updates and corrections in advance. In this way, we're giving the officer a roadmap for these corrections before they even open the file. And when I refer to a document, I do not mean submitting a new I-589 form. Don't do that. Don't send in a new application form. That can confuse the officer. They might mistake it for your original application, which can trigger major legal problems related to the 1-year filing deadline. So instead, just use a completely different format, like a simple Google Doc or Microsoft Word document to list out your changes clearly and send it to the asylum office ahead of time. Try to send it at least a week ahead of time by email. And if you applied for asylum online, you should also upload it to your My USCIS account. Now, to be clear, this document does not replace the in-office review. The officer is still required to go over the entire application with you. But having that document in front of them, well, it makes everything go so much faster. Just think about how hard it can be to spell a foreign street name or maybe a person's name out loud when you're trying to go back and forth with the officer about this. If the officer already has the correct spelling on paper, well, they can get it right immediately and move through the review in a fraction of the time. Look, you've got to understand, officers are overworked and genuinely overwhelmed. So anything, and I mean anything that you can do to make their job easier, well, it puts you in their good graces right from the very start. I cannot tell you how much I appreciated this in the very few instances when people did this for me when I was an asylum officer. And it's honestly a major hack for my law firm now. You see, officers consistently tell us how much they appreciate it. And I just know that it's helping our clients to get the interview started on a good note. Now, the format of this corrections and updates document itself is simple. Just open up a Google Doc and go through your I-589 sequentially, starting from the beginning. You don't need to write out the old, incorrect information. Just reference the specific location on the form and give the correct version of the information. So, for example, let's say that your date of birth is February 10, 1992. In most countries, that's written as 10/2/1992, day, then month. But in the United States, it's different. It's written as 2/10/1992, with the month coming first. Now, if you accidentally inverted this on your original application, you would just write on this document, Part A1, Question 12, date of birth, 2/10/1992. You don't put the wrong version and cross it out or anything. Just put the correct format. That's it. Simple and clear. And here's a bonus for you. At my law firm, Political Asylum Lawyers, we use a specially formatted Google document that mirrors the flow of the I-589, but it looks completely different from the official form, so the officer is never going to be confused about it. And I'm happy to share a copy of this exact template with you. Just send an email to me at info@politicalasyluምላwyers.com. Again, info@politicalasyluምላwyers.com, and ask for the asylum application updates and corrections form, and my team will send it to you so you can use it for your own case. Going into your interview prepared, knowing your updates, having your corrections documented, and walking in with a clear plan, that's what separates the people who feel confident and in control in that interview room from the people who panic and make mistakes. Proactively sharing your corrections with the officer shows that you're serious about your case. You're proactively giving them what they need to approve you. It makes their job easier. It gets you on their good side from minute one, and it protects your credibility throughout the entire interview by minimizing the chances that you end up with incorrect information on the final version of your asylum application, which could be exposed or contradicted by your testimony in your asylum interview. If you're ready to take the next step and get help with your asylum case, then please call my office today. That number is 713-909-0401. And we help people all over the country, so it doesn't matter where you live. Call us right now to schedule an asylum strategy session so we can help you to secure your future in America through asylum. Again, I'm Brian Manning, and it's an honor to serve you in your asylum journey.